Roll for Crit is brought to you by our Patreon supporters. Come roll with us at patreon.com/rollforcrit. We're headed into spring, and if you're looking for board game news, you're in the right place. We're talking about some new announcements, some fun updates for games that you already know and love. Here it comes on this Roll for Crit News Roundup. The Gen Con gaming convention has still not been confirmed for a date in 2021, but they did have their 2021 spring showcase held virtually through a series of streams just this past week. If you missed it, we'll give you a little bit of a rundown of what went on. There were a lot of different streams from a lot of different publishers showcasing some of their games that are maybe out right now or will be coming out in the near future. We heard from people like Pandasaurus, Upper Deck, Renegade Game Studios, Steamforged, getting looks at some upcoming games, including the new Monster Hunter World game that's going to be on Kickstarter, and lots of others across the board from all these different companies. Again, some of these games are available even right now, and some of them were brand new announcements. A lot of them were things we had already heard about, but we were getting a little bit more of an in-depth look at, maybe some playthroughs or just some more details as to how they're going to play. Kind of a fun time, I think. I unfortunately did not get to watch a lot of these streams. They were held over the past weekend. You can right now go on YouTube and find the Gen Con channel and watch anything that you missed in case you didn't see it. What do you think of the idea of this, the spring showcase? This is kind of right now, this is the next best thing that we've got to a gaming convention.
I mean, that's what you said. I do think it's the next best thing. I would love to see both of them be together. So, for example, if you weren't able to actually visit the Gen Con show floor, then there would be a YouTube channel that sort of shows what's going on. Because there were some pretty cool things outside of just really fun to see. Like, I really hope we get the chance to play I'm blanking on the name of it, Monstrosity.
Monstrosity.
Thank you. The drawing game, because I always enjoy drawing games and monsters, so that would seem like a great thing to try with our group of friends when we get together. But some of the announcements were some pretty cool things. Like, for example, my father's work from it was Renegade. It's this weird idea of a worker placement of a campaign game that there's some decisions that will affect what places are open. It sounds very interesting in a gothic theme, but it still is one of those things. It doesn't feel like, I guess in my head, it feels like it's still the second fiddle to what is Gen Con.
Of course. And this one was a little bit different too, that, there weren't any, at least as far, although that there were some publishers were doing their own kinds of like Discord or demos on Tabletop Simulator, but I don't think it was as much of an effort as they made for Gen Con Virtual proper last year, where they really went all out and had all kinds of appointments and you could actually set up to play things. This was more just kind of a little, mid-year, midway between conventions. Here's a fun look at what's coming out and a chance for publishers to talk to people. At any rate, you can check out the full lineup of the spring showcase for yourself right now and see if there are any more games that you're going to be looking forward to for the rest of the year, or maybe some you can pick up now.
Flat Hat is bringing back one of its favorite Summoner Wars in a new second edition. Summoner Wars was a game released around 12 years ago that was all about you battling mages and playing cards on the field and moving around a grid in order to try to outwit your opponent. This game had, a huge collection of not only just big base sets and expansions, but also lots of smaller packs for you to throw in there. And this new second edition is hoping to re-energize that with not only new art and bringing back old favorites, but of course, some new groups as well. You can check out what they have now, including a trailer, which shows off some of the new art. It looks like it's using a subscription model similar to what we've seen with Ash's Rise of the Phoenixborn, which does make sense when you consider, like I said, if you look back at the old Summoner Wars, there was just all these different packs for you to choose from to add to your collection. So I'm not surprised to see them try that out as well, the subscription model as well with this game.
Yeah, it's interesting to see them go all in kind of with that subscription service and curious to find out in a year from now how successful that's going to be, if they're going to keep going with that kind of thing moving forward. And it's also, I mean, it's just cool, I think, to see now that Plaid Hat is officially back as their own independent entity again, it seems like they're going back to their roots. First they brought back Ashes that everybody loved. Now they're doing a new Summoner Wars, which was really one of their first major hits. So it's kind of cool that they're embracing some of those things that made them stand out as a company in the first place. I think that's fun.
What do you think about the art change? Because I know the old art felt old. To me, it reminded me like the old D&D book art. Like,
Yeah,
sort of like this. This feels much more like, I guess, cartoony pop. Like, not too cartoon. We're not talking like Adventure Time or something, but it's definitely like brighter colors and I guess just the expression and style.
yeah, I like them both. It's good to have a new look. It's like you said, a little more modern. I think for in comparison to other board games that we're seeing right now. I think it's good.
Well, like I said, if you were an old fan of Summoner Wars, or maybe this is the time you want to jump in, you can pre-order the game right now on their site.
Restoration Games' Unmatched series brings together characters from all different universes into one fighting system, and they held a competition to allow fans of the game to make their own custom designed decks with public domain characters of their choosing, and Restoration Games has now announced the winners of that contest. The first 4 characters we're going to see added to the game as a result of this contest, we're going to see these start rolling out sometime in 2022, are the Genie of the Lamp, Harry Houdini, followed by William Shakespeare, and then Rosie the Riveter. And they said there are also 8 additional decks that they have chosen as winners because they got so many good submissions. We do not know what those 8 follow-ups are going to be, but it sounds like Houdini and the Genie are going to be the 2 that we see first in a set together. I think this should definitely quells my fears that we
Right,
talked
I
about
was gonna
recently
say. Mhm.
that they were doing all these Marvel sets for Unmatched, that maybe they were going to go too far with the licenses, but we have now confirmed 12 new characters that are definitely not from a licensed property like a Marvel.
Until we find out Disney and Marvel are actually the one who submitted the other 8. That's why they're not telling us.
Yeah, that could be.
But yeah, if you follow their Twitter, as of this recording, they've actually talked a little bit about Houdini and Genie. With Houdini supposed to be going to be more about really being evasive and like just probably disappearing and reappearing in actual card tricks. Like actually like make you pick a random card or something. And the Genie, being technically an all-powerful being, is going to have really strong cards, but that power is going to come at a cost. So my guess is like for every time you play a strong card, if you have copies in your discard pile, it gets a lot weaker, maybe, or maybe you have to pay with your health.
I think that the choices that they picked are interesting, and I am very curious to see who else comes along. Clearly, this game will go anywhere and everywhere. We'll see. There's going to be a bunch of more Marvel releases this year for the game, but they will be branching out to these other new additions next year.
Going a little bit back to the Gen Con Spring event, there was a Pandasaurus event, and they actually mentioned 2 games that they have gotten the rights that they're going to be printing now. The first one is The Loop, in which a mad scientist has decided to mess with time, as a mad scientist would do, and send out clones, and of course this is causing tears in the time stream, and it's up to you to fix it. This is a cooperative game of 1 to 4 players, in which you're going to be going around in order to try to defeat these clones, and stop the cubes out. They should be dropping from a little like sort of dice tower in the center that are the timers, but also taking advantage of the energy from the loop to take extra actions, unexhaust your cards, and other things. The other one is Wild Space. In this one, a whole new galaxy has been discovered, and it's up to your crew to be the ones to sort of prove that you're the best at exploring and finding out what's going on. This has a lot of cute animal creature cards that will represent your crew, and the game's really all about trying to build the most efficient combo out of your crew cards and also some robots you'll hire along the way. I like both. I love the look of Loop and the idea of just traveling through time and doing a bunch of silly stuff. I really love the idea, though, of Wild Space, where it seems to be like it's leaning into like, look, people like me like to do like crazy combos sometimes with cards. Let's do a quick game. So you don't have to wait like a whole 2 hours for you to build up your whole combo and just see what trouble you can get into.
Yeah, yeah, both are cool. I think in addition to Brew that we talked about recently, there's three really interesting games from Pandasaurus that all have very different art styles, but all of them in their own way are very colorful and catch the eye. And I think the Loop is the one of these two that intrigues me a little bit more. I just love the look of the board itself that kind of pops up, and
Hmm.
it's always a fun time travel is a very fun theme that I don't think is explored too much in a board game, and there are a lot of different ways you can go about it. A lot of games to tell you about in new releases this week. First, we have After the Empire. This is a medieval worker placement game. You're going to be heading out trying to gather resources to build up your fiefdom, then defend your fiefdom from outside invaders through a combat scenario. Bloodborne, the board game, is now available at retail from Come On. This is, of course, based on the popular Bloodborne video game, and it's cooperative. Players are working together as hunters, going out with very unique weapons using a card based combat system, taking on monsters, and sometimes dying, going to the hunter's dream, and coming back to fight some of those same monsters again if they happen to crop up. Boss Monster has a couple of new additions to their lineup. First, there's Boss Monster Vault of Villains, which is a new expansion for the Boss Monster game proper. It's got new mini bosses and other new cards to mix things up. Then they have an entirely new standalone release called Overboss, which takes place in the same universe, but in this one, the boss monsters are coming out into the overworld itself and trying to take over there. This is a tile laying game where you're collecting different tiles of different terrain types and arranging them in various ways to score them depending on what types of terrains you have. Carcassone's new edition has another new version of one of its old expansions, Hunters and Gatherers. This one adds in some of that prehistoric flair to this classic tile laying game. The new edition, of course, has new art, as well as some tweaks to how the scoring works for certain tiles. Carpe Diem is also available now from Stefan Feld. This was a Kennerspiel nominee. We recently played this new edition and reviewed it. If you want more info, you can check our channel out. It is a game where you are collecting tiles and building up various farms and other types of buildings and locations in order to, again, score points and try to collect different forum goal cards and get the requirements you need for them before other players can take it away from you.
Dominant Species Marine, the successor to Dominant Species, is now available. In this one, you'll be trying to conquer the seas as one of four major animal groups, such as reptiles or fish, in order to prove you are the most dominant species by making sure you spread out your cubes or workers, depending on how you see it, before maybe that asteroid comes in and hits the planet. We've got Hocus Pocus, the game, for all those who missed that lovely Halloween classic. You'll be trying to work together in order to stop the witches by messing around with their brew and trying to match the certain ingredients. Now, there will be a friendly cat along the way to help you, but there'll be a spell book that may hinder your abilities to stop the witches. Now, we've got Maglev Metro, which is from Bezier Games. In this game, you will be building train tracks and trying to prove you have the most efficient tracks by delivering passengers to the stations they want to be, and also trying to score hitting goals and efficiently place those workers on your own map, which will unlock other building options or actions for later rounds in the game. Then we've got X-Men Mutant Insurrection. This is a cooperative dice game when you'll be playing as the X-Men in order to fight back different scenarios. If you want to know more about this game, we have a review and a how to play for this one as well on our channel. Finally, we're going to leave you some LCG packs from Fantasy Flight Games. First up, for all you Arkham Horror fans, we have Arkham Horror: A Light in the Fog. This is, of course, continuing on with the Inns Myth cycle and the horrors that lie beneath the waves. Then we have Legends of the Five Rings, The Temptation of the Scorpion Dynasty. This now leaves 2 more packs to be released before, as we stated in an earlier news video, that Legends of the Five Rings LCG will come to an end, or at least how we see it now. Then, of course, Marvel Champions, just in time for the show to end, is releasing the Scarlet Witch Hero Pack. This allows you to play as the Scarlet Witch, who does pair well with Quicksilver, who was released earlier. So maybe you want to try to pick up those 2 packs together.
Some notable releases this week, a couple that we have reviewed, as we mentioned, or will be reviewing shortly, like Maglev Metro. Bloodborne, of course, is a really big one. Dominant Species Marine, one we've been anticipating for a very, very long time, and maybe my most anticipated from all of these to play, just because that was one of our earliest board games that we really got into. Certainly one of our first big, heavy ones, and I'm curious to see how they've changed it.
A Dominant Species, if I remember correctly, it did not make our top 20 lists, but it is a game that is very near and dear to us. And especially, I don't know if this will turn out when we need to actually play it, but playing Evolution than Oceans, which I felt like the sea version fixed the problems. I'm really excited to see if Dominant Species Marines fixes some of the problems we may have had with the original Dominant Species.
Every second edition needs to just bring it to the ocean. That's
That's
the
right.
answer. And like I said, I think we've kind of talked a lot about the other ones, but X-Men, I know it's polarizing, it seems like, out there, but people, you can see if you like it based on what we talked about. Carpe Diem, you know what you're going to get with that. It's a classic style Euro game. And Maglev Metro, you have to wait for our final thoughts, but I think that's a cool one. If you like pick up and deliver games, you might want to tune in to see how that one fares as well. There's some cool choices out there for you. Talk to us in the comments. Let us know which games maybe are you buying, or do you have thoughts on our news stories from this week? Did you enjoy the Gen Con Spring Showcase? What were some highlights for you? Are you going to be subscribing to the Summoner Wars 2nd Edition? What do you think about that whole service? Let us know in the comments.
We'd love to hear from you, and thank you again for watching. Till then, I'm Will.
I'm Jonathan.
This is Roll for Crit.
Support our Patreon, like this video, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss a thing.
Watch more of our content now to hold back Cthulhu's madness.